Hola amigos and welcome back to Let's Play Final Fantasy 3 on NES. This is your host, Tails Fargabaad. Let's get it on. Alright, so on the last time, we got the Invincible. The Invincible is the largest airship in the game, and it's also one that we are going to need in order to get to a lot of portions of the game. Now, I forgot what level you have to be to take on some of the optional bosses, but we're going to, we're not going to worry about the optional bosses anyway. And, oh, enemies. Alright, so this airship, not only is able to, cross mountains, but it's also able to, God, I'm saying too much again, damn it. It's also able to, damage enemies using cannon blasts and stuff. That support fire ability is really going to be useful against a lot of enemies, and no, I don't think we're supposed to go there yet. More enemies. The thing about the ship is we seem to encounter enemies a lot more often, or at least in these skies we seem to be encountering a lot of enemies, so maybe it's just region-specific and whatnot. Because we are in kind of a valley near mountains, so maybe the enemies are just inhabiting certain areas of the game, or something. I really don't know the logic behind where and when random encounters happen. So anyway, we're going to have to go back to the other continent of where Salonia is, as we cross the ocean very slowly, because there's a town that we need to go to now. Well, we don't actually need to go there, but it is relevant to our interests. Now that we can cross over those mountains. This town, which is... oh, we can go over those mountains for some reason too. This town is going to be relevant to our interests due to its, basis around a certain job class. Like the fact that there's a, town based on the, Geomancer and Bard job classes, and a town based on the, Evoker job class. This one's based on the Magic Knight job class. Welcome to Fargabaad. Fargabaad's cool game for attractive people. I don't even... This is Fargabaad, a town of people who are trying to master the Dark Swords. Dark Swords, or katanas as they're known and stuff, can only be wielded by two different job classes in this game. The Dark Sword can only be handled by those who have overcome their fear of darkness. None but the Mystic Knight can use it. That's actually not true. There's another job class that can use katana weapons, and they can use it with quite a bit more efficiency. But what we'll want to do is... well, first off, we're going to explore the town and see what all things we can buy. We can buy level 2 spells and exit here and stuff. Not very useful because we already have those spells. But there's a little mini-boss fight here as well. The Phantom Blade Masamune is set to rest somewhere. I'd love to hold it in my hands just once. Alright. Some monsters split in two when they are hit by any weapon other than a Dark Sword. Long ago, there were those who mastered both Dark Swords and the Holy Swords and could use all weapons. If I remember correctly, those people were called ninja. So they're in Dark Swords that work effectively on the monsters in the Cave of Darkness north of Amur. Many have gone there to test their skill, but no one have ever come back. Alright, so the Cave of Darkness is going to be our next main story location, but in order to really do much of anything there, we need Dark Swords, which only Mystic Knights, Magic Knights, whatever, can wield. That guy was also talking about ninjas, which are able to wield any weapon in this game. Ninjas are the absolutely most powerful job class, and damn right, I'm going to use them when I get them. The monsters of this cave can only be defeated by Dark Swords. Okay. So if I remember correctly, there's somebody in this town that we need to see, and they're an optional little boss fight. And we need to fight them in order to, get a certain Dark Sword from this place. I really would like to, remember where this guy is. No, he's on the other side of town, isn't he? This side of town. Okay, and... just a little patch of grass there, but... damn it, where is he? Oh wow! Secret area! Right. The secret area was inside this waterfall and such. We couldn't reach it because there was a townsperson in the way. Gee, thanks. Anyway, I think the optional little mini-boss right here is right here. I'm searching for someone worthy of this Kiku. I wonder if you can defeat this monster. So now we must fight a shinobi! Ooh, wow. Shinobi will later appear as just regular enemies and whatnot, but for now, they're pretty much little mini-bosses. That being said, they do deal a bit of damage, so we will want to be careful against these guys. They have a bit under 2,000 health right now, so... And, whoa! Or maybe very much under 2,000 health. We were able to beat them that quickly. And, splendid! Well then, take this blade, and we've received the Kiku Ichimonji. The Kiku Ichimonji is a sword that's been referenced in quite a lot of video games and such. Many being the weapon of choice for ninjas. It's pretty much... Alright, so what we're going to do is... We're going to unequip our knight and turn Leo into a mystic knight. And if I remember correctly, there used to be this show on Fox, I think, that was called, like, Mystic Knights or something. Oh, right, but the Mystic Knight has... The Mystic Knight is pretty useless to us right now because we don't have enough armor for it and such. So we're gonna get the Demon Armor. And the Demon Shield. Not sure why we'll need the Demon Shield and such. But now with the Demon Armor, we at least have some semblance of defense, and where's the shield? There we go. Weapons. What weapons can we buy here? We can buy Ashura, which is weaker than the Kiku Ichimonji, and Yoichi Bow and Yoichi Arrows. The bow and arrows aren't going to be that useful to us since we don't really run any job classes that can use those ranged weapons. Well, now we go inside here to Fargabaad Cave, to Rockaway Beach, and we find a Thor Hammer. Thor Hammer is going to be useless to us, and Deathclaw! How are you, buddy? Man, I missed you. No, I didn't. I didn't miss you at all. Well, I'm gonna miss you. I'm gonna miss you so much. These hot summer nights won't last forever, you know. And I'm gonna catch hell for, referencing an Aquabat song. But see how that, katana we just used didn't set off his ability to divide? That is the big advantage with these magic knights and stuff, and the reason why they're so useful is simply because they don't set off divide. And also I think they can deal more damage to dividing enemies as well. You see, the dividing enemies took a lot of damage from... Or at least that Deathclaw took a lot more damage from... Alright, and we have Silenus and... whatever the hell those weird tentacle, mustache, beard enemies are. Garb, I think they're called. Because I just saw it say Garb and... Garb blabber blabber. Alright, so Silenus, or Sirenos, I guess as it's called in this version of the game. Curse you translations! They divide! Across this new divide or something, I guess. I don't know. That's one of those weird things. Like, I don't consider myself to be a fan of certain bands and stuff, but... Like, for instance, I don't really consider myself to be a fan of, say, Linkin Park or whatever. I mean, I'll tolerate a Linkin Park song on the radio, but I'm not really a fan of them. And yet when the Transformers movie was coming out and they started playing that New Divide song on the radio and whatnot, I liked it. I'm not much into Linkin Park, and yet that was a good song. And the weird thing is, a lot of people don't like bands that are too mainstream, but a lot of people don't like bands that are too obscure, either. And, I don't know, I guess that's really weird and such, but I don't know if I'm making any sense of it. One of the reasons why people don't seem to like Nickelback so much is just that they're a more mainstream kind of band. Their music is more generic and bland and predictable and stuff. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, the members of Nickelback are talented musicians, but a lot of the reason why people don't like the band is just that their music is so generic. It's something you expect to hear. And I mean, being generic isn't always bad, but it's not good either. I mean, the reason why Super Mario continues to stand out against other games isn't just because it's a platformer, because a lot of platformers are generic and based off of Super Mario Bros.'s legacy and whatnot, I guess. Oh man. How am I going to attack this guy without setting him off? Random curing! Writing on cards, anyway. But, another thing is, generic is never good or bad. It's kind of neutral, and you really can't have neutral. None of Nickelback's songs are really going to stand out to you, but it's not like I'm going to avoid them like the plague, either. I mean... Alright, so that was a dead end. But it's one of those weird things, you know? I mean... And then again, when somebody tries something new, they get flack for it as well. I mean, look at Radiohead. Radiohead has spent pretty much their entire career experimenting with various styles of music, and some people like bands, some people don't like bands, but just because you don't like a band doesn't mean that they're crap, just because their music is generic and mainstream and stuff. You have to look at all the factors. For instance, I mean, you can't just say that Guns N' Roses was a bad band just because Axl Rose's voice was just annoying and stuff, because that really isn't fair to say. Because they have good songs. Guns N' Roses had great songs. Alright, so Haniel and Belfry. More of these dividing enemies, more of this dividing enemy crap. But yeah, you see how generic these enemies are now. I mean... or how just bland these battles are going to get, and... Also, wait, hold on. Magic? Dark Knights have magic? And, oh, well, I guess they're not like Dark Knights typically, but I mean... Oh, for this I don't know why I'm so surprised. In the DS version, Mystic Knights were called Dark Knights, and they were more based on Cecil Harvey from Final Fantasy IV, and the fact that they weren't magic-using job classes, they could sacrifice a bit of their health to deal more damage to enemies. That was the big shtick with Dark Knights. Aside from their ability to use katana weapons, Dark Knights had the ability to sacrifice health for attack power. And that being said, Dark Knights weren't really all that useful And they're a bit more useful here because there's so many you can have more enemies in each battle and such. And that makes the Dark Knights more useful. I mean, that would make them more useful, mainly because, I mean, you could only have up to 3 enemies on screen on the DS version at a time. So the enemies, yeah, they had higher attack power and higher defense and more HP to make up for that. But at the same time, they were also a little bit less threatening. And the reason they were less threatening is because there were just less of them. They didn't appear in giant swarms. They only appeared just a little bit at a time, and you could eventually wear them down a lot more quickly, even if you just spam melee attacks over and over. And it's kind of ridiculous in the DS version how well that actually works. I mean, while the bosses when playing the DS version were a bit more threatening because they had the higher HP and higher attack power that you were expecting from the enemies, but you wouldn't expect the bosses as well to have that heightened power. I mean, so in that regard, the bosses were a lot more threatening. And yet the enemies were no threat at all. I mean, everything seemed more effective against enemies in the DS version. And 10x hits, wow. Then again, we're using a more agile job class than Knights, so of course we're going to be able to deal more damage to enemies per turn and whatnot. Still, 2,000 plus damage is still... I mean, this kitchen is bitchin'. And I don't even care at this point anymore, I'm just using melee attacks like that. Because that's just how I roll, man. 3,090 damage, I mean, that is just incredible, that is just... And one of the reasons why I actually kinda like dividing enemies and stuff is because you can pretty much rape them, or not rape, I guess, I shouldn't say rape. Rape isn't funny. Vagina jokes aren't funny, period. Tee. But anyway. But yeah, you can pretty much just level grind against these enemies alone. Just keep on making them split. I mean, you could get overwhelmed eventually, but... I mean, there are a lot of different types of enemies in this game that can make for optimal level grinding madness and whatnot. I mean, there are enemies later that can summon more enemies, and you can pretty much level grind against those enemies because they're just going to summon more enemies. So you can kill the enemies that they summon until you have enough experience points, and then you go and actually kill the enemy. And I realize I've just said kill the enemy about 7 times or something or other times in one sentence, but I mean, the point still stands. Kill the enemy. Bacon. I have no idea what I'm talking about anymore at this point. Man, Dark Swords are incredibly useful against these enemies. Like, if I get another Ashura or something, I might just have a second Dark Knight in the party. And you know what? You know what I could do? Wait, does Mikey really have the lowest level out of all the party members? Nah, doesn't matter. Give Mikey Magic Knight powers. Mikey is now a Mystic Knight of... I really wish I could remember what that show's name was. Like, it was Mystic Knights of something, but I can't remember what that something was. I mean... yeah, I'm sure it'll come to me eventually. Waterfall. I mean, life is a waterfall, you know, but I mean, come on. Yeah, like, you know what? That was a stupid move, making Mikey... No, it wasn't. That was a smart move. Even though Mikey gets the short end of the stick in terms of attack power, why not? But life is a waterfall, you know. Come on, man. Are we done here? Oh. Visago and Kronos. I think this is the last set of new enemies for this area and whatnot. There I go saying and whatnot again. But yeah, most... Alright, so Cure 4 heals a pretty decent amount of damage, even if we're running a white wizard, because... I mean, it's the last healing spell we get. Aside from some of the white magic versions of summons, it's the last healing spell we get in the game. So, with that being said, of course it's going to heal a pretty decent amount of health. Alright, so what? No. Alright, so now we're out of the cave, and yeah, we're gonna need to have to heal up at the inn. Dark Knights are gonna be useful in the next story dungeon we fight as well. I don't think we're gonna be taking that on in this video because we spent a little bit too much time in that cave already, and to be honest, we also don't have all the necessary equipment that would be good for that cave. I mean, the enemies there aren't anything we haven't seen already. They are just the generic enemies that can split and divide when they get hit. So with that being said, I mean, there's really not that much we need to do in this video, so I'm probably just gonna cut it shortly and then go on to the next part. And to be honest, this is my first time using the, like, actually using the Mystic Knight job class as a, I mean, as anything, really. And I know, saying, oh, this is my first time using it for anything, that kind of sounds stupid, but I mean, this is my first time using it for the story, I guess I should say. I never really put much thought into using it as a job class in the story, because, I mean, I could just overpower everything. I mean, I was, like, dealing 23 hits on the DS version and such. And there we go, saying and such again. Alright, so before we end this video off, actually, I think there's one more thing we might need to do.